Hi kids, welcome to another episode of Car Camping with Mike because he still doesn't have his Cybertruck. Get on that shit, Elon.
Yeah, which side is the front?
Well, where did Mike put his tent stakes that he made? So, just like last time, and I try to do this as much as possible, we're using 3D printed tent stakes. So I went and printed off basically an entire set just for this camping trip. I printed off 12 of these red ones in ABS. I wasn't 100% sure how many this thing takes, so I brought some extras. I think I got about 14 in total. Yeah, these are all ABS, except for this one. This one's PLA, this one's ASA, and I believe that one is PETG. I always forget how massive this tent is. Like, compared to the weeny little backpacking one I use. So I'm trying to get this wedged in the ground here. Seems like it's a little tough going. There's probably gravel under here, just like every other friggin' campsite. Alright, I might have to bonk that in with some wood. Let's see if we can't bonk this bad boy in. Seems to be doing a pretty good job of it. Yeah, something like 12 more like that, and we're good. We have ourselves all of these damn tent pegs all hammered in. Thankfully, no gravel underneath this site. It's just really dense ground, so it just required a bit of hammering. I used up all of my ABS stakes. I had 12 of them, and I was missing one, so I used that PLA stake. So the idea is to leave these in for the 3 nights that we're here, and just kind of take a look at them during teardown to see how they fared. See if any got mashed up like the last set did. Ta-da! Tent's all done. Fly's up. It's a little lopsided in how I set up the fly, but if it rains, it'll do its job, which is the important part. So she has her air mattress. She has to inflate that. That's all that pumping to get that thing inflated.
Oh, please.
Meanwhile, me. You ready for how long it takes me to set up my mattress? Done. Yeah, I bought this thing for warm weather backpacking. You might have seen it on my skate packing trip. I actually haven't had a chance to use this thing yet. This will be my first time actually sleeping on it. It's, I haven't even used it, and the poor thing is already chewed up from being strapped to my pack, getting caught on bushes and stuff. And it's got so many perforations and puncture marks, and I haven't used this thing yet. Well, that's part of the reason I like this thing, is it can get used and abused. You don't have to worry about it catching a hole and deflating, and it also replaces my sit pad. So if I want to sit on the ground, I just open this up, lay it down like this. Oh, and I'm good. So it's just the 2 of us for now, and then our other friends are supposed to show up later tonight because they got stuck working. If I had the Cybertruck, this is what we'd be here with. Unfortunately, one Mr. Elon Musk has not made the production of that damn thing a priority yet, so we're stuck boring old car camping out of the Mazda. Oh, the insect get screwed. Alright, let's go fill up these water jugs. It's got a bit of a tinge to it, but nothing too bad, I guess. Man, that tent is a mansion. Even when I get the truck, I have a much smaller tent, I think. I think it's too big. So, I brought a few fun things to play around with. Usually these car camping trips are my chance to kind of play around with all this stupid 3D print projects and stuff that I've built. So, one of the things I built I hooked up my 120 watt solar panel to an electric skateboard battery and wired a USB charging dongle off it. So it essentially makes it some kind of redneck DIY solar battery bank system using one of my old electric skateboard batteries. I want to set it on the trunk of my car. Unfortunately, it's not really oriented all that well for the sun. I'm totally going to edit out the 20 tries it took me to get it at the right angle. Whoa, hello. So this is the electric skateboard battery here. It's only 192 watt hours, but it's enough to keep all the fun little camp electronics charged. Here's the mppt controller. Hook that up into that thing. Stick the battery under the solar panel so it's not catching direct sun. There's this little dongle that's connected to an XT60 connector. That plugs into the battery like so. Now that thing's live. I gotta be careful where I touch so I don't catch 42 volts to the nuts. And this gets plugged in like this. Let's see how high it gets. 0.2. So it gets to about 0.2. So I'll set it to 0.15. So obviously this thing's not getting the optimum amount of light right now, not by far. Sun's not beating down on it, it's slightly overcast. It's towards the end of the day. But it's getting, it's charging at, I think it's at 37 volts right now at 0.15 amps. So it's charging at about 5 watts. I mean, that's pretty slow for a giant battery like that, but it's better than nothing. I wonder if I could plug something in and charge something off of the USB at the same time that the battery's charging. So you'll have to excuse the whining noise of the controller. It's got a loud fan in it because it is built for some pretty heavy duty voltages. So USB in there. So that's plugged in. Let's plug in my phone and see if it charges. Oh yeah, it's plugged in and charging. It's at, what was it, only at 25%? Oh damn. Alright, so phone's at 25%. I'll let this do its thing. Even if the solar stops providing power, there's still a charge in that battery, so it'll charge up my phone for sure. But the idea is to keep the battery topped up. Isn't this the most janky solar charging setup you've ever seen? So one of the projects I brought to test out and kind of put it through its paces was this 3D printed bucksaw that I designed. I made a whole video on this. I suggest you go watch it if you haven't. This is probably one of the projects I'm most proud of. The entire frame of this bucksaw is 3D printed. That includes the cross beam, the two sides, the windlass. The only thing that's not 3D printed on this is the cordage, obviously, and the saw blade itself. Even the pegs that secure the blade into the frame is 3D printed. Make sure it's nice and taut. Let's go cut us some wood. Works out pretty well, eh? I got 2 bags of firewood, but you know, a little bit extra never hurts. It's pretty neat. If you want to buy one of these, I do sell them on my site. Sans the blade. It's just a 3D printed kit. But check the link in the description. So, I remember that I told you guys that for my backup winter option, I switched from a twig stove to alcohol. So I haven't actually had a chance to use my little setup yet. So I got the fuel here and my little alcohol stove here. And just for a little added hilarity, one of the trips I went on, I brought this blanket and I melted it with, can you guess it, alcohol fuel. Because I tried pouring some into a container that was still lit and I had to dump it, and that's where it wound up. I'll show you how this setup's supposed to work here. So, got my little alcohol stove. That gets filled with alcohol and lit up. Here's a problem. How do I deal with the pot sitting on it? I didn't bring a frame for it to sit on. So the idea is that you stack these branches as like a log cabin style build until you get a tall enough platform for the pot to sit on. Ideally, I want to pace these out far enough where they're not going to get set on fire by the flames from the stove. Yeah, it's not the most stable platform for it ever, but it works. There we go. Let's not have the alcohol near the open fire, Mike. That's pretty janky, I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna back this up just in case. I'm gonna let that come to a boil, and on the menu right now is some honey garlic noodles. So this will be the first ever meal cooked on this little alcohol stove. I may or may not have also set fire to the sticks that I'm using as my platform. Maybe I need to think this log cabin idea through. Well, we'll run this through to completion and see where it goes. Now, it's a little hard to control the temperature of these things, so I'm just going to have to keep stirring it so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot. So yeah, this whole stick cabin idea isn't working as well as I'd hoped. The sticks are burning through and causing it to collapse in on itself. But that's why it's important to get out here and test in a situation where I'm not relying on it. It doesn't help that I also use dead sticks for this. Maybe the key is to use green live sticks. There. It's removing it from a lot of heat, but that should at least keep it from boiling too harshly. Wow, it's still boiling that high up. Oh man, that's toasty. There we go, now we're at an actual simmer. Bam! Camp food jank. That was worth a shot.
I mean, did the job.
Yeah, a little too well. You see the fire coming off of that? Alright, so that little stove situation wasn't the greatest of successes, but at least it cooked my food, sort of. Oh, it's hot. Mm. Mm. Oh, that burned all the way down. Oh, that hurt. Oh, man, that burned going down. Oops.
Michael.
This poor mat, man. I must have put it down while it was still too hot and stuck it to the mat.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Oh, there we go. Bucked up that entire log with my 3D printed saw. And actually that saw is made out of the same ABS that these tent pegs are made out of. Same material. It's hard to see on the camera there, but they got a sick rooftop tent on a Jeep over there. It's kind of what I want to get for the Cybertruck. You said you're worried about the stability on the...
On the one side where the ladder is.
Oh, it's
because it hangs overside of the...
Yeah, but it's a firm frame underneath though.
But what's the weight bearing? That's the question.
Go check out that general store. It's about a 1K walk. Not sure what we're gonna buy because today's the day that all of the Rogers stuff went down. Day of all days, man. That was fun trying to get everything in order this morning. Someone was not too happy about the laundry facilities being closed. Oh, rough. One guy's been on the road since Saskatchewan. He can't do his laundry. Well, if it were me, and I'm set in my backpacker ways, I'd just do it right in the water at the beach. Can't really see it because it's fisheye on the GoPro, but there's the beach right through the trees there. That's where we're hopefully going to launch that boat. There's something here called the pocket tornado. What even is this? It doesn't cross over anything. I don't understand.
And I don't want to cross over that way because there's like tall grass and apparently ticks are a thing. So.
You don't want to get eaten by ticks? No?
No, I'm good. Lyme disease is not something I'd like to add to my list of illnesses.
So this is why we were talking about ticks there. It's because there's these signs everywhere. But there's apparently ticks in the area. I don't much want to get bitten by a tick. There we go. Let me do my best Captain America impersonation. Ah!
I was gonna say what? I can do this all day?
This? No, I can't do this all day. There we go. I know it seems a little like overkill to get a campfire going, but the wood they give you is absolutely terrible. I swear they soak it in water. These little tiny sticks, these will work wonderfully. Alright, so this is my fire starting kit. This is lifted directly out of my backpacking gear. I had added these little fire starting things because I couldn't get the fire started during that March backpacking trip. These guys here. So really I only need half of one of these, I think. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, just like you were feathering a piece of wood or something. Oh, we finally got it. Only took like 20 minutes. All right, we are getting somewhere. So can't see much on the GoPro, but we got the fire going. So here's the jank that I got going on over here. I've got my electric skateboard battery plugged in with an XT60 connector to this little USB dongle. And all this USB dongle does is it downscales the 36 volts coming from the battery to USB 5 volt charging. So I'm charging 2 of my GoPro batteries off of an electric skateboard battery, which is starting to get a little low. Unfortunately, there's no light on the solar panels to charge it back up. So I'm going to leave this out, so hopefully it catches some sun in the morning and starts dumping some juice back into that battery.
What she had us pay for the car anyways.
Alright, my headlamp has been on most of the evening. Hi, creepo. Got my 3D printed container that's got the other 3 AAAs in it. So we're going to take these bad boys out.
Practice, man. It is frankly. I feel like you have to edit all your audio out.
Just like that. Got a new set of batteries in the headlamp. I've got it's a USB charger, and it can charge any battery that can fit in there. So we're going to plug in. So we take the first battery we're charging, and we stretch it on up and put it in like that. And then we basically let that charge that one up and do that 2 more times. I'm gonna have to do this over the course of the night because I'm pretty tired. I'm probably gonna go to bed in a minute. Morning. In a strange twist of fate, it seems like everyone else has gotten the day started before me. It got cold last night in this thing.
so I stole the camera.
The sun has moved off of the solar panel for the most part, but for a little bit there, I was charging this at 0.5 amp, but now it's just charging at 0.11. Any charge getting dumped back into the battery is good. Went to the bathrooms and they had a bit of a lineup there. They chose the morning as the perfect time to go and clean bathrooms. Fire needs some work. My lovely wife there put together this little fire starter kit. It's toilet paper rolls filled with
laundry lint.
Yeah. So I got it go in there for a second, but it didn't have enough oomph to it to spread to the little twigs. So we'll try it this way. This is already nice and fluffed up. That'll catch a spark from that ferro rod easily. There we go, that caught. Oh, it's hot on the bottom. All right, there we go. It's starting to catch. Remember this big 3-liter titanium pot I bought for winter use? Thought I'd bring it for boiling water for coffees and stuff. There. Oh, that should be enough water for everyone's coffees. First sip of coffee of the day. It's vaguely coffee flavored. Not very strong though. Alright, so campfire breakfast staple. Grilled Spam fried over the campfire with a piece of highly processed cheese and a toasted English muffin. All the salt and fats you could ask for. The Spamwich. Sunscreen. So the plan is we are gonna drive down to the beach and we're gonna get that boat all pumped up and take it for its inaugural test ride. Beach day. Life jackets, oars, or what? Pump. Look at a big boat. Alright, one more side to go. And I have to do the floor too. Alright, all PFD'd up.
Wish it was the Cybertruck.
It will be autonomous though, eventually. Alright. It's floating. So I can't see where I'm going. So.
Careful, there's people coming up behind you.
Can you tell this is my first time in this thing?
You're doing good. You haven't dumped it over yet.
Yet.
And it's funny because you're the one who took a thing in high school about canoeing and kayaking and shit.
Does this look like a canoe? So anyways, yeah. Bought this inflatable boat. It's the Tobin Sports something or other from Costco. It's like $300. By itself, it's just a somewhat durable inflatable boat. But the plan is that I'm going to get an electric outboard motor, get a little Pixhawk, stick ardupilot on it, basically make this thing drive itself, make it fully autonomous. I plug in where I'm going and it motors me there. This is the first time I've been in a boat in a while, like a paddle boat, actually any kind of boat. First boat of my own that I've owned. So yeah, it's good to get out here and give this thing a test spin. Feels nice.
Some nice scenery.
That really is a massive boat, man. Bon voyage! We wound up going all the way around the island there, all the way out. There's a bridge over there, and then we paddled back. It's honestly not as strenuous to paddle that as you might think. Well, that was fun. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting the motor for that thing. Pumping that thing up, getting it set up, and tearing it down, it's a lot of effort. I'm starting to figure out why people don't use inflatable boats for trips and just opt to go with kayaks and canoes because it's a lot of effort. Also, they didn't really include too many instructions with that thing, so while you guys were all up at the store there, I was left trying to, it's even worse than like IKEA, trying to figure out how everything works.
It's all pictures.
No, there was no guide.
Oh geez. Really?
Yeah.
What was that?
Not even a guide on how to put the batteries in the pump.
What was the book then?
Just like safety guidelines and stuff like that. I had to figure out how the batteries fit into the pump. That wasn't quite clear. I had to go through everything we had with us at the beach and figure out something that would open up the little compartment that the batteries go in. But once I got that thing assembled, it was fun to be out there rowing around. I guess you guys had a lot of fun with it too.
Mm-hmm. Saw some nature turtles.
What's that, a turtle?
Yeah.
What's a painted turtle?
It's going to be as cold tonight as it was last night.
Oh dear.
Alright, let's see if we can't get this thing started right off the bat with a bunch of sticks. Because I am completely unoriginal for dinner tonight, we are also doing burgers. Burgers off the grill. Had a little mishap with some that were undercooked. Well, that's another day in the bag. Tomorrow awaits. Good morning. It is actually very cold this morning. It's like 10 degrees. Alright, let's fire going so I can get coffee heat from this thing. It's like completely gone out. So we'll get that going. Got a big pot of water on there for everyone's coffee and tea. I think teriyaki noodles sounds good tonight, this morning.
Breakfast.
Yeah. Hey, I'm an adult. I don't know if I've showed it off before, but one of the mess kits I've got is a Yugoslavian army mess kit. I don't use it too frequently because I kind of got my own backpacking gear, but this might be a good start to my overlanding cooking gear for my Cybertruck. Speaking of which, some progress on that anyways. Obviously there's the Gigapress for the underbody castings. That was shown off a few weeks ago. But as of yesterday, they've also ordered the production equipment for the drivetrain, and it was confirmed that that was for the Cybertruck. So slowly but surely, things are coming together for the start of production roughly this time next year. First sip of coffee in the morning. I made it a double. Oh, yeah, that's hot. Nice bowl of coffee. So I moved my little solar panel setup out here into the sun. We're pulling 42 volts at 1 amp, charging that battery. That's roughly 38 point something watts right now. Let me see if I can set it to 1.5 amps. Now, tops out at about 1.43. We'll set it to 1.3. All right, so we're sustaining 42 volts at 1.3 amps, 50 watts charging that battery right now. That's pretty good. That's almost what the charger for it pumps. I think the charger for it is it's like 68 or something like that, 68 watts. His and hers. A can of Thai chili tuna. Get in there. Go. Get. Mix that in. Let that sit for a few minutes, and breakfast is served. Oh, that's so good. Exactly what I need this morning. So one of the experiments I wanted to run while I was out here is, you remember that 3D printed solar still thing that I designed for Powerade bottles? So I haven't actually had a chance to do a full test run of this yet. It's going to be a hot sunny day today, so let's give this a go. So this goes into the top section. It screws on like that. And this is the dirty water reservoir. We're just going to fill it up with regular water. And that sits like that. The idea is that water evaporates up into the top section, condenses, and then falls. And because of that tube stuck up in the middle there, it stops the water from falling back through into the dirty water section. And what's in here should, in theory, just be clean water. And this screws onto the top like this. This It shouldn't be necessary, but I'll also put a strip of duct tape around there just to make it airtight and make sure there's no water vapor escaping. And then just put a sock over top of the top section just to insulate it so that it's only the bottom getting exposed to the heat. Now we're just going to plop this down right here. We'll check on that at the end of the day and see if we've evaporated any water up into the top section. Alright, time for a rousing game of Cards Against Humanity. Alright, here's what I'm working with here.
And then it says the person who recently pooped begins, as the cards are.
High five, bro. So our answers are: an icy hand job from an Edmonton hooker, Harry Potter erotica, or surprise sex. High five, bro. I'm gonna go with the surprise sex. High five, bro. Oh man, I can't believe we're at the end of the third day already, and it's already time to pack up and head home in the morning. So let's go around and kind of look in on all the experiments and stuff that we were testing out, all the projects. So my solar panel and eskate battery combo have been working great. The battery is actually charged up to full right now, despite me charging my camera batteries and my phone and stuff. As you can see, topped up at 42 volts. It's been a really, really useful thing to have. I think it's missing a few things. I want to add the wall charger for that battery that battery comes with, so that if you know, I don't have access to solar and I want to charge that up to full, I could still do it off of the wall. The other thing I want to get for it is a 110 volts inverter, so that I can upscale the 42 volt DC from the battery to a standard wall outlet 110 volt AC, so I can plug stuff into it and charge. Because I thought we were going to have electrical service to this campsite. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out, and the nearest place to plug in is down at the laundry station, which is a bit of a hike and an awkward place to leave stuff to sit and charge. As for the other experiment that I was running, that was the thing that we set up this morning, the water in the Powerade bottle. I don't think it worked all that well. So if I take the sock off, yeah, there's no water accumulated in the bottom there. So I wonder if maybe the sock needs to be on the bottom and leave the top to cool. And then the third thing that we were out here testing this weekend was my 3D printed buck saw, and that has actually been holding up extremely well. Yeah, this thing has been left outside the entire weekend, exposed to the sun. There's no warping of the handles. When I'm not actively using it, I back it off by a full wind. But yeah, it's been holding up really well. I'm actually super happy with this thing. One of the coolest projects that I decided to do. There we go. This place is deserted now, man. Sunday night. Not a long weekend or anything, just a regular weekend after the long weekend. I walked all the way to the bathroom and back earlier. None of these sites are occupied. Right? That one's empty. This guy's empty. That one's empty. It's a stark cry from this morning and even last night when it was so crazy. All the sites were occupied.
Well, it's the end of the third night. This whole trip has gone by in the blink of an eye, man. Well, that's it for tonight.
I caught you in 4K, son, trying to sneak into my campsite. Get out of here. Get. I see you. I see you right there. Get. All the food's put away. You ain't getting nothing, son. What do you think you're doing, huh? This little guy has like no fear of me whatsoever, which makes me worried. I don't want to get too close to him. Little trash panda.
Dawn of the final day. And I guess comes the part where all this stuff's got to get packed up. Look how dirty I got. Yeah, I went through 10°C nights with just this super light sleeping bag. Somehow I was okay. Yeah, there's the sleeping bag I used. About a House Traveler 50.
So all the tent stakes are out. All of them are in really great condition. I'm not seeing any damage on any of the tips. No signs of layer splitting. No signs of stress. Even the PLA one that I wound up using is in good condition. Well, that's it for this one. I'm gonna tear this tent down and skedaddle and get some breakfast. Thanks for watching, boys and girls.